unmatched obsession for the game, and once-in-a-generation talent. That's how everyone remembers the late Kobe Bryant. On the court, the Black Mamba was a stone-cold killer, but off the court, Kobe was an influential icon loved by many. Let's take a look at the craziest, most memorable, and iconic stories on Kobe Bryant. If there's a player Kobe idolizes more than anyone, it's none other than Michael Jordan. And the story is about the time that these two all-time greats clashed on the court. On November 8, 2002, Kobe's Lakers faced off against Michael's Wizards, and they lost by just 1 point. After the game, MJ saw Kobe wearing the Jordan 7s and said, "You can wear the shoes all you want, but you're never gonna fill them," which broke Kobe's heart. He was so devastated that he didn't talk to his teammates and coaches for 2 weeks. The other players got worried, thinking that Kobe was mad at them, but Coach Phil Jackson clarified that it was because of what Michael said. The next time Kobe played against the Wizards, he was out for blood. In just the first half, he scored a ridiculous 42 points and absolutely annihilated the Wizards. It didn't even matter who was guarding him. The Mamba was just unstoppable, draining every shot he took. But even after everything, there was no bad blood between the two legends. Just look at how Kobe playfully helps MJ up.
Foul, and Kobe just picked up his fourth personal foul, and Kobe is kind of mocking, having some good fun with MJ.
Kobe showed the world why you don't talk trash to the Black Mamba, even if you're the greatest player of all time. He'll work tirelessly just to make you regret ever doubting him. Robert, a former coach of Team USA's Olympic basketball team, witnessed firsthand just how insane Kobe's work ethic is. Check out this next story. When the coach was introduced to the team practicing in Las Vegas, he made himself available to players who wanted to do any extra training. The night before the first team scrimmages, just before falling asleep, Kobe called him at 3:30 in the morning and asked if he could help with some conditioning, and he agreed. When he arrived at the facility a few minutes before 5, Kobe was drenched in sweat, which meant that the Mamba already started training. They then proceeded to work on conditioning and strength training. After almost 2 hours, Robert went back to the hotel to sleep while Kobe went back to the floor to practice shooting. At 11 a.m., the coach arrived at the practice floor for the first day of scrimmages, and everyone was there: LeBron, Carmelo, and even Kobe. He approached Kobe and told him, "Good work this morning on the conditioning." Kobe replied, "Oh yeah, thanks Rob, I appreciate it." Robert then asked him, "So when did you finish?" "Finish what?" "Getting your shots up." "What time did you leave the facility?" "Oh, just now. I wanted 800 makes, so yeah, just now." Sheesh, even the trainer was shocked when he heard this. Imagine waking up at 3:30 to train for 7 hours straight before team scrimmages started. That amount of dedication and commitment was what it took to be the best of the best. Kobe must have spent more time with basketball than his wife, giving a whole new meaning to being married to the game. He had a passion for the game that often consumed him and even clouded his judgment. Like in our next story about the time he fought a 7'2", 300-pound giant just because of a pickup game. Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal were playing on opposite teams in Southwest College during the summer. Given how competitive they were, trash talking was expected. But at one point, the intensity of the game got out of hand, and the next thing they knew, they were throwing punches at each other. The team couldn't risk their star players getting injured, so other players had to step in and break up the fight. Any normal person would fear the enormous Shaq punching their lights out, but the Mamba held his ground and didn't back down. Either Kobe was tough as nails or out of his mind. His teammates would argue that he was the latter. Kobe says so in this interview.
My teammates, they all thought I was absolutely crazy the day me and Shaq got in a fist fight.
From that moment, Shaq and Kobe realized how driven they each were to win, and instead of the fight creating a rift between them, it made them respect each other more. Many doubted their chemistry after the incident, but their 3 NBA championship titles silenced all the critics. But even Kobe admits that his antics during his younger years were a bit insane. He was even crazy enough to use the signature move of the person guarding him and make it work. Our next story starts on the set of a reality show titled The Real World. Reggie Miller was asked by his agent to show a rookie, Kobe Bryant, what the NBA was really about. The two players arrived before the cast of the show and decided to play one-on-one. Reggie stepped back, caught the rookie's attention. Being a good mentor, he taught Kobe the move, which would eventually come back to haunt him. Fast forward 3 years later, in Game 4 of the 2000 NBA Finals, Shaquille O'Neal just fouled out and the Pacers had a chance to take the lead. That's when Kobe pulled out the same step back that Miller showed him during their one-on-one. No one could believe it. Just listen to Reggie Miller's reaction.
As he's running down the court, pats me on the butt and says, "You never should have showed me that step back. I'm going to kill this young kid.
It takes a tremendous amount of talent and confidence to use another player's move, especially when they're the one guarding you in the NBA Finals. But Kobe naturally had that swag, and he showed it when he predicted his own 50-point game. Speaking of crazy games, this one starts off with the Lakers and 76ers, who just finished a tough match. Andre Iguodala did a great job guarding Kobe Bryant, keeping the Mamba at 7 for 20 shooting. So Kobe marked down the date of their next game to fully prepare for it. On game day, Kobe was so confident that he entered the 76ers locker room just to talk some smack. When he found out that Iguodala was warming up on the court, he said to the players there, "Tell Dre 50 tonight." When the message was relayed to Andre, he got excited to give the Mamba another tough match. Unfortunately for him, Kobe went crazy that game, scored 49 points and gave the Lakers a blowout win. With 6 minutes left still on the clock, the game was already over and Kobe was subbed out. It was scary when Kobe talked because everyone knew he could back it up. But sometimes just one phrase was enough for him to completely take over a game. And that's exactly what he did against the New York Knicks in the next story. The rookie, Iman Shumpert, was tasked to guard Kobe Bryant and did a good job. Got a few steals and kept the Mamba below 20 points for 3 quarters. The Knicks were leading, and in his head, Iman was already excited to tell his brother how he stripped the ball from Kobe. But what happened next erased all those thoughts from his head. Throughout the game, Kobe was dead silent, but as the fourth quarter was starting, Kobe tapped Shumpert and told him, "You had a great game, young fella," which immediately gave Shumpert a bad feeling because there was still 12 minutes on the clock. In that fourth quarter, after a single phrase, Kobe went off. A switch was flipped and he started making crazy plays left and right. When he was getting double-teamed, he threw it off the glass to himself and gave an easy look to his teammates. He was pulling up from deep and draining every shot. The Knicks could do nothing but call a timeout, and this was Iman Shumpert's reaction.
Timeout, Dan Tony looking at me, I'm like, bro, I ain't.
When it came down to the wire, everyone counted on Kobe to clutch the game. No one doubted his killer instinct, and how did it come to be? This next story has the answer to that. It started way before Kobe even entered the NBA. When he was just 6 years old, the Bryant family moved to Rieti, Italy. Being an African American who couldn't speak the language made it difficult for him to get along with kids his age, and he was often shunned away for being an outsider. Luckily, his grandfather taught him how to play basketball, which young Kobe fell in love with and often played by himself. He eagerly went to his father's professional basketball games just to learn how to get better. But even when he was on the court, some kids still treated him like an outcast, which only motivated Kobe to destroy them. Just listen to what Kobe was thinking when he played against them.
But yet when we come to play the game, that's my chance to get vengeance on them for not accepting me in there.
He channeled his anger and frustration from being rejected as fuel to improve and become cold-blooded on the court. The mentality of being an outsider seeking revenge stuck with Kobe throughout his whole career and was the secret behind the Black Mamba's killer instincts. From that young kid, Kobe grew to become a legend and inspiration, which is why basketball fans around the globe were heartbroken after the tragic news of his passing. He may not be with us anymore, but the Mamba's legacy continues to inspire and live on. What's your favorite story about Kobe Bryant? Share it with us in the comments below. If there's one guy who had many stories to tell, it would be his former partner, Shaquille O'Neal. If you want to learn about the other half of Kobe's dynamic duo, check out this video on the Diesel right here.